Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for today's on-air daily news hour. I'm your host, Naima Latif, and we want to share with you some of the things in the news reported on by the on-air daily news. Now, we know that the whole world is focusing on this ongoing war, this terrorizing situation, the conflict between the United States and Iraq. We're not pleased that we're living in times where a nuclear bomb could destroy the entire planet. And we're not pleased that leaders of nations are toying with the idea of bombing each other, destroying lives and property, and making a mess of things that can never be repaired. We're not pleased that this is happening. But we also are weary of the distress that continues to be promoted through the media. It would seem that the only news people know how to report is bad news, and that's not all that's happening. Because just like there are those who are not pleased with what's happening, there are those who are choosing to do something about it. So we're sharing with you the stories of people who are empowering themselves to change the world from the way it is to the way it should be. That's what we say we're about every day. And there are organizations who have chosen to take matters into their hands and change the direction of this planet, because there is no such thing as a winnable war in times where people have access to nuclear power. And it doesn't matter who has access. The fact is, nuclear power was introduced as a weapon, as opposed to what it could have been introduced as an energy source, a means of restoration, all kinds of things nuclear power is good for. But when a mind that is violent becomes aware of a power, the first thing they think of is, how can I use it to dominate someone else? So those who are not willing to allow that kind of mind to dominate our world gathered together and began a plan of action to present to the United Nations a document that would make it internationally unlawful for a nation to rise against nation. HWPL, which stands for Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light. Quite a spiritual title, don't you think? HWPL called together spiritual leaders, religious leaders from all faiths, and educators and legal experts to craft a document that could be presented to the United Nations and voted on as something that all nations would agree upon, because no one wins when war breaks out. No matter who had the most casualties, no one wins, because we've destroyed the earth and produced toxins that linger for generations and create deformities and abnormalities and disease. We suffer as a human family, as a collective earth family, the animals, the plants. Probably the only thing that'll be left after an atomic war will be the roaches, but everybody else would not be able to survive. So this is the 10th anniversary, and we invite you to learn the story about HWPL and its quest to bring world peace through a document that nations agree upon, that serves as a guideline for how to settle differences. And this guideline would allow nations, before they get into conflict, to be able to sit down and talk and reason. Now, this story, as we reported in the on-air daily news, gives you a synopsis of what happened when an international coalition of peace advocates called together by the Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light organization, HWPL. Well, now they are stepping up their efforts that began when they first established the meeting. On March 14th, 2016, the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War was proclaimed during a global meeting of leaders in religion, education, and law, and other pertinent areas of life, when they gathered to create a document that would establish a shared standard for the prevention of war and the peaceful resolution of international disputes. Well, it took 2 years to craft that document and present it, of course, in 2016. By 2016, they had created this document and presented it to the world. And this is designed to serve as an ongoing guideline to stop war before it starts. So from 2016 to 2026, 10 years have passed, and we share that process. 10 articles, 38 clauses. It's kind of like the process when the founding fathers created the Constitution of the United States. They knew they had something special, something groundbreaking, something revolutionary. And this is what happened when leaders gathered in Seoul, South Korea, with the purpose of ending war. And as we've explained in this article, The formation of HWPL came about on the direction of its chairman, Man Hee Lee, a Korean war veteran who had seen the devastation of war and had seen how young people are the ones often used when nations seek to fight each other for domination. And he resolved that young people would no longer be misused in these conflicts between nations. It's devastating. Just think of what happens, and before they started drafting women, which is horrific. But just think of 5 successive major wars that left the male population decimated. So you have all of these widows, orphans. How do you pull together a family? We never recovered from that. We still have not recovered from the wars that took away the men. Either they died or they were injured physically or mentally or both, crippled them physically or mentally or both. And women were forced to perform roles of both husband and wife in managing the outside income as well as managing the in-home housekeeping and child rearing. And how has that been working? Well, the prison population has risen. And statistics show that 87% of people serving time in prison came from fatherless homes. So the killing of our young men in war has had generational traumatic effects. A document that would make it a crime, a nation committing a crime to initiate war against another nation, is something that we need. And so the DCPW is that document that can change the way the world relates. The HWPL World Peace Summit, held September 18th, 2014, became an important turning point. And this event was attended by a total of 1,933 participants from 152 countries who shared a consensus that international standards are needed not only to respond to conflicts after they occur, but to prevent them and institutionalize cooperation. So, of course, the DCPW was created by those delegates at that initial conference. The 2-year process it took to create it culminated March 14th, 2016, when the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War document was officially proclaimed. So it's been promoted for adoption by the United Nations since its inception. And this is something that all nations can get behind, even as we watch a war being promoted as if there is any chance of anyone winning anything. Everybody loses as long as we're at war, and we know this. So with an organization that has coalesced with so many international peace advocating organizations, spearheading something tangible. Yes, there have been protests. There have been many anti-war protests, which seem to be ignored by the national leadership. But it's known that people are resisting the idea of being forced to go and kill. There's a different humanity that has arisen, a conscious humanity. and they're not going back to a state of unconsciousness where you just blindly obey an order to shoot to kill. This is the time when the DCPW will experience a groundswell of support, because people do not want to experience war. And those who are already experiencing it are angry and frustrated. But those who are watching and seeing stories of school buildings being bombed and children being murdered in the name of what? A better price for oil? Access to oil? How insane is that? So it's time to establish a standard. And HWPL, Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light, has put forth that standard. This is a very powerful organization and a very powerful coalition, a very powerful global coalition. We had an opportunity to attend one of the international conferences, and we're going to show you a bit of that. The tremendous organizing that goes into bringing people together and the army of volunteers that help to make it happen. People's hearts are in this, and they're going to make it happen. We are going to experience peace in our lifetime. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll share with you some of the experiences of being treated like royalty as we attended this global peace conference that was designed to bring together those minds and hearts that are committed to peace so that we can strategize and make it happen in our lifetime. We'll be right back. We're going to greet our global family joining us from all across the world, and then we'll be right back. So stay with us.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Yes, we do want to talk to you, and we want you to talk to us too. And if you've got comments, we'll gladly pull them up on the screen and share them with our viewing audience, because we're all in this together. Well, in 2018, we had an opportunity to once again attend a global peace conference in South Korea, sponsored by HWPL. We've shared this on our website, some of the momentous videos, and the 2018 World Peace Conference of HWPL was an event which was transformative in so many ways for so many people, because one of the things that we had a chance to observe was the fact that this wasn't just one organization. This was a global effort, and people from around the world attended this conference. And there were people from, you'd say, all walks of life, different professions, but everyone was respected for their contribution. But what struck me most was the literal army of volunteers, thousands of people. We were met at the airport, and these are delegates, again, hundreds of delegates attending this convention. Each one had their own personal assistant to guide them through this ceremony and all of the events. But the greeting, the people lining the streets all the way to the stadium cheering, this was thousands. This was an army of thousands, and all voluntarily being there so that we would know the magnitude of the support for this effort for peace. So we're going to give you a chance to take a look at this experience of the 2018 World Peace Summit. This was the opening ceremony at Incheon Stadium in Seoul, South Korea. Definitely a mind-blowing experience. I'm Naima Latif on our way to the conference at the stadium, and we're being escorted by dignitaries in cars as we get ready for the big ceremony here in South Korea. Being greeted as we enter the stadium. The reception for the delegates entering the stadium for the peace ceremony. playing. Part of a motorcade of dignitaries entering the stadium. We're entering the stadium for the international ceremony here at the HWPL World Peace Conference. There are many cultural expressions and ceremonies, and you'll see dances and songs from many cultures of the world. And right now, as we enter the stadium where we see hundreds of thousands of people, this is also being streamed live across the world. And so many are joining this ceremony in progress, wherever they are, whatever time zone they're in, participating in this very momentous occasion in which the many groups across the world are declaring an end to war. This is a celebration of the declaration of war, the end of war, and this is for the declaration of peace and the cessation. So we are, as a global community, making a decision to come together as one voice, whether we are Muslim or Hindu, Christian or Sikh, or Hindu or Buddhist, or any of the other world religions. We know that we all believe in peace, and so we have agreed to put aside any differences and work toward the one goal. And so this ceremony is symbolic of that success in uniting all of the world religions for peace. And you'll see an astounding number of people who have gathered here in South Korea to speak in one voice that we are all standing for peace. Dove civilized.
Hello, welcome to
Oh, I can see with a child. Here we are, symbolic of the future. Yes, look at this. So we each get a balloon shaped like a dove and a child that lets us know our future is in the hands of these innocent people, these young souls who are going to enter into a world of peace. community and of the future. Those children who are accompanying us as we walk through the stadium for the opening ceremony. This is a symbol that, as these dove-shaped balloons indicate, we believe in peace.
In just a few moments, we will begin the Peace Festival for the 2018 HWPL World Peace Summit. The fourth anniversary will start with the countdown. Let's all get ready to count down together.
As you can see, there are many different organizations represented here. And there are many different religious groups, ethnic groups, over 170 countries participating. And many who have come here have been doing work in their communities, in their cities, in their nations to try to bring together previously conflicting groups. The religious community is especially important in this regard because many of us of different faiths simply have to understand that we are all one and we are all standing together on ethical, moral principles of unity.
세계가 소식 80명의 세계인 선수들이 함께 입장하고 있습니다. 여러분 박수 보내주십시오. Nothing like this in Chicago.
Yes, nothing like this in Chicago.
세계 100개 중에 233개 단체와 함께 지금 저녁에 37억
Literally people cheering us as delegates coming from countries across the world. So all the people in the stadium are cheering for us as the international delegates that have come for this global peace conference. So you look at this full stadium, this wide. Look at the full stadium. Look at it. Look at the people cheering us like we have come to save the planet. This whole stadium cheering for us. Literally magnificent. Yes. Now we're ready to take our place on the stage. They're saying, I love peace. See the gatherings, see the displays, see the many, many, many participants in this presentation. And so now we're seeing presenters as they prepare to entertain and present and make a statement about the world. All the delegates sitting here in our respective places. Hundreds of thousands. And so this experience is something that you could not possibly predict. And so what we had a chance to witness and what we had a chance to report on was an eye-opening experience, because I kept asking, how come we don't know this is happening in America? How come we're not aware that the world is organizing for peace? Because our news media is talking about who's going to war, and we're not being allowed to know that the rest of the world has a very vast, organized body ready to stop this war in its tracks and put forth a whole different system based on peace. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll share with you an interview as we spoke to the many delegates from around the world. We'll share with you an interview with one of the delegates from France, and we'll take a look at some of the responses that people have had to the peace work by HWPL. So we'll be right back after this next break, and as always, we want you to come on back and feel free to express your thoughts about what you saw. Do you think the peace movement is powerful enough to overcome this movement for war? It looks like humanity is on the side of peace. We'll talk about it when we come back after this break, so stay with us.
Welcome to Master Force with Mushim Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page. As we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force, our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending. Leaders of nonprofits empowering worlds, let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
And we are back. Remember to join us tomorrow as we continue with our wonderful team of hosts, bringing you fascinating information, people that you need to know to help you ascend in your thinking. Well, we are ascending. Yes, we are. And we are creating new ways of being through organizations that are advocating that we simply learn how to get along. So there are many of those who have been advocating peace and have been working in the trenches and in the on-air daily news. We bring you stories from across the world of people who are making a difference. Those who are working in the trenches, in developing schools and teaching principles. Now, of course, HWPL has done something that many thought was an impossibility, and that is bringing those from Israel and Palestine together. But we can do that when we work with the children. So this peace education camp, established for the purpose of teaching children a different way of seeing each other, not as enemies, but as brothers and sisters, under the slogan, "We are one." And in many of the HWPL gatherings, you'll see them holding up this symbol of one. We are one. That is the slogan. We're one human family, one family of earth, one under the creative energy of the universe we call God. We are one. And the unity that these children are learning at the HWPL Peace School is what they will bring forward as they become adults, and they will replace the old fear-based, war-based thinking because they have been raised differently. And all across the world, people are changing the way they think. So we report to you a global perspective so that you can see that the rest of the world is making a change. And of course, we know many of these countries are breaking ties with the United States because they're choosing to interact with countries that believe in cooperation and not domination. So this is the new way people are responding to each other. And we've shared with you the story of how the United Nations heard a declaration that slavery was a crime against humanity, and those who experienced it should be paid reparations. And those who participated, even on the continent, they need to acknowledge it and apologize for their role in it as well. It wasn't just a racial thing. It had to do with greed, and it had to do with the decision to ignore people's human rights. Will this global Christian United Prayer Gathering, again organized by HWPL, was a powerful injection of peaceful energy into the universe. Prayer is powerful because it does change energy. It changes the hearts. It changes the soul. It changes what people feel, and it brings them back to consciousness of their creator. So we have gone around the world in spreading this message of peace and speaking with those who are of like mind. And there are many, many, many more who are advocates of peace, more than there are those who are pushing fear-based systems of war. So let's take a look at a few words shared with us by this HWPL delegate from France in this interview, as he reflects on how people are receiving this message of peace and what we need to do to enhance it where we live. I'm here with French journalist. Tell me, is there racial conflict in France?
In France, well, yes, but in reality, it's not. And we need to understand what we can do to change this reality. That is, which
That's how it is. I'm going to take and he most certainly did acknowledge we got a ways to go before we get to a state of equality. We're going to take one last break and come back and take a look at some of the steps that have been taken by people who want to influence political thought so that our elected officials can choose to support the moves to end efforts toward war, the moves to end the financing of war, the moves to stop sacrificing young lives so that people all over the world can feel safe, knowing that their leaders are not going to use economic gain as a reason to take lives, to destroy lives, to destroy the planet that we all must share. We'll be right back after this last break, and we want you to stay with us. Yes. Join the one and only Cinnabella on Fridays here on the Female Solution Global broadcast. Such wonderful hosts bringing you all kinds of inspiration daily. 7 a.m. and again at 7 p.m. twice a day, Monday through Friday. And then join us for wonderful programming at 12 noon. And all of these are Central Time. So, because our hosts are from different parts of the globe, across the country, and even across the world, you have to adjust your time wherever you are. Just type it in. There are world clocks that can tell you what time it is. So, you can always tune in, or you can watch us live or watch us later. But we always bring you the kind of shows that empower you with knowledge and not frighten you with fear. And this is why it's critical that we define the narrative in which we want to discuss this current effort to engage in physical battle using armaments. We need to stop it. So, in this 10-year anniversary of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, we truly do need to stop. And all of our hosts bring you programs of people doing positive things to build, to create, to transform the world in which we live. And we bring you stories of people who are triumphing over adversity and sharing their knowledge and even proposing new ideas so that we can think and we can create new ways of functioning. We just had an election, and our leaders who were elected, many of them are saying they're going to change the direction away from violence, away from conflict. And we're looking for them to make good on their promise, because we do remember the past. We do remember the struggles, and as we commemorate those times when we had to fight for dignity, we're grateful that those times no longer exist. And we're grateful for those whose voices transformed our thinking. So as we remember the past, which now shapes our present, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to our future. And this is why we share information on the on-air daily news that gives you a sense of empowerment, so that you can see people who have made a difference and are continuing to make a difference. People whose work is changing the way we live, whether it's introducing clean energy of solar power to remove conflicts about oil and other kinds of energy that people have chosen to charge for when the sun is absolutely free. We interact with children and introduce children to each other all around the world so that they can choose to create a world where there is harmony and not violence and not conflict. We create different economic systems where barter, exchange, and gratitude can be measured and used as a means of commerce. We're building a new world, and we share the power of those who are giving knowledge and wisdom to help us in building that new world every day on the on-air daily news. And so we want you to go to the on-air daily news and subscribe so that you can be informed and get that information every day. It's multimedia. You'll see photos come to life in our video productions and presentations, stories that speak to you in a real sense, because we want to connect with you and let you know that you are a part of the process of changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. So go to onair.dailynews.com. We're here every Wednesday evening with an hour of insight, some of our stories, and some of those who are part of our media coalition, publishers, producers, people who are using the media to bring a message of empowerment. We invite them to share their stories as well. The world is becoming a better place because of people like you and all of us who are refusing to be led down a path of fear and helplessness are helping to make a difference. That's why we're here. So join us next week for the on-air daily news hour, and we'll bring you more insight about the progress toward peace and about some of the initiatives happening perhaps in your neck of the woods. Problems that are being solved by people who are daring to think differently and create what we need to make a change. We appreciate you and joining us. Come on back tomorrow to the Female Solution and make sure you tune on in at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. But wherever you are in the world, adjust your time so you can see Master Force with Mushim Suk, and then you can learn about some nonprofits empowering worlds with Bridget at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. But wherever you are in the world, adjust your time so you can join us live and be a part of the solution. I'm Naima Latif. Until next week, continue to shine your light. We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiabonga. Senegal, Jareth. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.